Captain Dex Romano stepped off the transport shuttle onto the gleaming floors of Research Station Harmony, his boots echoing through the pristine corridors. The joint human-Sephorian facility orbited the lush planet Kepler-4 for to be representing humanity's first major collaborative effort with an alien species. Dex had been chosen as the new station commander, a role that would test every ounce of his diplomatic skills and military training. The Zephyrians were unlike anything humanity had encountered before. Tall, elegant beings with pale blue skin and silver markings that seemed to shimmer with their thoughts, they operated on pure logic and had little understanding of human emotion. Their society had evolved to suppress feelings, viewing them as weaknesses that clouded judgment. Yet somehow these two vastly different species needed to work together to unlock the secrets of this mysterious planet below. Dex made his way to the main conference room where he would meet his counterpart, the Zephyrian liaison assigned to oversee their species' interests. Lieutenant Cassie Morgan, his longtime friend and communications officer, fell into step beside him. "Ready for this, Dex?" Cassie asked, adjusting her tablet. "The reports say she's brilliant, but completely a scold." Typical Zephyrian. Dex straightened his uniform jacket. "I've dealt with tough negotiations before. How different can it be?" The conference room door slid open, and Dex's confidence evaporated instantly. Standing at the far end of the polished table was the most striking woman he had ever seen, human or otherwise. Nixandra Velthar stood nearly 6 feet tall, lithe frame wrapped in form-fitting Zephyrian diplomatic robes that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. Her pale blue skin had an almost luminescent quality, and her silver hair was pulled back in an intricate braid that highlighted the sharp angles of her face. But it was her eyes that captured him completely, deep violet pools that seemed to hold the mysteries of the universe. "Captain Romano," Nixandra said, her voice carrying a musical quality despite its formal tone. "I am Nixandra Velthor, appointed liaison for the Zephyrian Council. I trust your journey was adequate." Dex felt his pulse quicken as he stepped forward. More than adequate. The view of Kepler-4 to be from approach was breathtaking. Breathtaking? Nixandra tilted her head slightly, her violet eyes studying him. An interesting choice of words. Zephyrians do not experience such visceral reactions to visual stimuli. We appreciate efficiency and function over aesthetic appeal. "Maybe that's exactly what you're missing," Dex said, unable to stop himself from grinning. "Sometimes the most beautiful things in the universe are the ones that take your breath away." Nixandra's silver markings flickered almost imperceptibly, a sign of confusion among her people. "I fail to understand the logic in allowing one's respiratory system to be compromised by external stimuli." Cassie cleared her throat. "Captain, we should review the station protocols." But Dex was already captivated. It expected another cold, calculating alien diplomat. Instead, he found himself facing a woman whose every movement was poetry in motion, whose intelligence sparkled behind those incredible eyes, and whose complete inability to understand human emotion made him want to show her exactly what she was missing. The next few hours passed in a blur of technical briefings and protocol reviews. Dex found himself stealing glances at Nixandra constantly, studying the way she moved with fluid grace, how her silver markings seemed to pulse with her thoughts, and the way her lips curved when she was deep in concentration was everything. He had never known he wanted brilliant, strong, mysterious, and completely untouchable. Their first real test came sooner than expected. An emergency klaxon suddenly blared through the station, and Cassie's voice crackled over the comm system. "All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We have a situation." The bridge buzzed with activity as technicians scrambled over displays showing the planet's surface. The main viewer displayed a massive storm system unlike anything in the meteorological databases, with energy readings that defied explanation. "Report," Dex commanded, slipping into his command persona. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy surges from the southern continent," reported the duty officer. "The storm appeared without warning and is growing exponentially. But here's the strange part: the energy signature matches nothing in our databases." Nixandra stepped forward, her attention focused entirely on the data streams. "Fascinating. The energy patterns show characteristics of both natural phenomena and artificial generation. This suggests involvement of an unknown intelligence. Unknown intelligence? Dex moved closer to her, close enough to catch a hint of her scent. Something like starlight in winter mornings. You mean there might be another species down there? The probability is significant, Nixandra replied, her violet eyes meeting his. However, the energy levels indicate potential danger to any investigation team. Logical protocol would suggest remote observation only. Dex felt his pulse quicken again, but this time it was the thrill of adventure calling to him. Remote observation won't tell us what we need to know. There's another species down there. We need to make contact. That's what we're here for. Captain, that course of action presents unacceptable risk levels, Nixandra said, her voice remaining perfectly calm, even as her silver markings began to pulse more rapidly. Zephyrian analysis suggests a 73.2% probability of mission failure. With current data, sometimes you have to take risks to achieve something worthwhile, Dex replied, stepping even closer to her. That's what makes us human. We don't just calculate odds. We push forward because we believe in something greater than ourselves. Nixandra's eyes widened slightly. I do not understand this compulsion to ignore statistical evidence in favor of emotional impulses. Then let me show you, Dex said, his voice dropping to a more intimate tone. Come with me to the surface. See what humans can accomplish when we follow our hearts instead of just our heads. The tension in the room was palpable as the two leaders faced each other. Cassie watched nervously as her captain seemed to forget entirely that they were in the middle of a crisis. His attention focused completely on the beautiful alien woman, who stood just inches away from him. Nixandra's silver markings flickered, in patterns that Dex was beginning to recognize as deep thought. This is highly irregular. Joint operations require extensive planning and risk assessment. The best discoveries come from the unexpected, Dex said, his eyes never leaving hers. Trust me, Nixandra repeated, as if testing the word. Another human concept that lacks logical foundation. Trust is the foundation of everything worth having, Dex replied. Partnership, friendship, love, they all start with trust. Something shifted in Nixandra's expression, a flicker of something that might have been curiosity or even longing. Love. Your species places extraordinary emphasis on this emotional state. Because it's the most powerful force in the universe, Dex said softly. It makes us stronger, braver, more than we could ever be alone. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibilities and unspoken promises. Then another alarm sounded, snapping them back to the crisis at hand. Captain, the storm is intensifying, reported the duty officer. Energy readings are off the charts. Dex made his decision. Prep a shuttle for immediate departure. 2-person team, myself and Liaison Velthar. Sir, regulations require a minimum of 4 personnel for surface operations, Cassie protested. Regulations written before we knew what we were dealing with, Dex replied. A smaller team moves faster and draws less attention. What do you say, Nixandra? Ready to see what humans can do when we put our hearts into it? Nixandra stood perfectly still for a long moment, her violet eyes studying Dex's face, as if trying to decode some impossible puzzle. Finally, she nodded once, sharp and decisive. Very well, Captain Romano. I will accompany you. Perhaps observing humanological behavior firsthand will provide valuable data for future interactions. Maybe, Dex grinned, already heading for the shuttle bay. Or maybe you'll discover that there's more to existence than just logic and data. As they prepared for departure, Nixandra found herself studying the human captain with growing fascination. His complete disregard for statistical probabilities should have been alarming, yet something about his confidence and determination stirred unfamiliar sensations in her carefully controlled mind. She had been taught that emotions were weaknesses, yet Captain Romano seemed to draw strength from his feelings rather than being weakened by them. The shuttle bay doors opened to reveal the swirling clouds of Kepler-4 for to be below. Whatever waited for them on the surface would test both their species' abilities and their growing attraction to each other. As they strapped into the shuttle seats, Dex caught Nixandra's eye and smiled. Ready for an adventure, Nixandra Silver? Markings pulsed with what she was beginning to recognize as anticipation. I believe I am beginning to understand why humans find uncertainty so compelling. Just wait, Dex said, as the shuttle launched toward the storm-racked planet below. You haven't seen anything yet. The shuttle descended through the turbulent atmosphere, carrying them toward a destiny that would challenge everything both species believed about logic, emotion, and the power of connection between two souls from different worlds. Neither Dex nor Nixandra could have imagined that their collision of worlds would ignite a passion that would ultimately reshape the future of both their civilizations. As they broke through the storm clouds, the mysterious energy signatures grew stronger, and with them, the undeniable attraction building between the human captain and the Zephyrian liaison. It was about to discover that sometimes the most illogical choices lead to the most extraordinary possibilities. The shuttle bucked violently as it descended through the chaotic atmosphere of Kepler 4b. Dex gripped the controls with steady hands, while Nixandra monitored the energy readings from her console, her violet eyes reflecting the dancing lights of the instrument panels. The storm system that had appeared so suddenly was unlike anything either species had encountered before. Energy signatures are intensifying as we approach the source, Nixandra reported, her voice maintaining its characteristic calm despite the turbulence. The pattern suggests this phenomenon is not entirely natural. Dex felt the familiar rush of adrenaline that came with diving headfirst into the unknown. That's exactly what makes this exciting. We're about to make first contact with something completely new. Your definition of exciting differs significantly from Zephyrian understanding, Nixandra observed, though her silver markings pulsed with what Dex was learning to recognize as intrigue. We consider unknown variables to be complications requiring extensive analysis. Sometimes the best discoveries come when you stop analyzing and start experiencing, Dex replied, stealing a glance at her perfect profile. Even in the midst of potential danger, she was breathtaking. The way the instrument lights played across her pale blue skin made her look like some ethereal goddess from ancient human mythology. The shuttle broke through the lower cloud layer, revealing the source of the energy signatures. Below them stretched a vast crystalline formation that seemed to pulse with inner light, creating patterns that shifted and flowed like living aurora. The crystals rose from the planet's surface in towering spires that reached toward the sky, and at their base lay the ruins of what appeared to be an ancient city. Magnificent, Dex whispered, unable to hide his awe. Nixandra leaned forward, studying the scene below. The architectural patterns are consistent with neither human nor Zephyrian design principles. This confirms the presence of a third species. Look at those energy patterns, Dex said, pointing to the dancing lights within the crystals. They're almost like they're trying to communicate something. Communication requires logical structure and recognizable patterns, Nixandra replied, but her voice carried less certainty than usual. These appeared to be random fluctuations. Nothing in the universe is truly random, Dex said softly. Sometimes, what looks like chaos is just a pattern we haven't learned to understand yet. As they approached the landing site Dex had selected near the crystal formations, the shuttle's systems suddenly went haywire. Warning lights flashed across every console and the engines began to sputter. We're losing power, Dex announced, his hands flying over the controls. The energy field is interfering with our systems. Probability of successful landing decreasing rapidly, Nixandra stated. Though her markings now pulsed with rapid bright flashes, recommend immediate return to orbit. Too late for that, Dex replied grimly as the shuttle began its uncontrolled descent. Hold on. This is going to be rough. The crash was less catastrophic than it could have been thanks to Dex's piloting skills and the marshy ground near the crystal formations. Still, the shuttle was clearly damaged beyond immediate repair. Their communication systems were completely dead. Dex helped Nixandra from her seat, his hand lingering on her arm longer than strictly necessary. She was warm to the touch, warmer than he had expected, and he could feel a subtle tremor running through her normally composed frame. Are you injured? He asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. Zephyrian physiology is quite resilient, she replied, though she didn't pull away from his touch. However, I am experiencing some difficulty with equilibrium. Dex studied her face carefully. Her silver markings were flickering in erratic patterns, and her usual perfect composure seemed shaken. It's probably just the adrenaline. Even Zephyrians must feel something when they almost die. We do not experience adrenaline as humans do, Nixandra said, but her voice was quieter than usual. This sensation is unfamiliar, Gay. They gathered their emergency supplies and stepped out into the alien landscape. The crystal formations towered above them, each one easily 100 meters tall and pulsing with that strange inner light. The air was thick with energy that seemed to make every breath tingle with possibility. The energy readings are off the charts, Nixandra reported, consulting her portable scanner. Prolonged exposure could have unpredictable effects on both human and Zephyrian physiology. Then we better work fast, Dex said, shouldering his pack. Those ruins look like our best bet for finding answers and maybe shelter for the night. As they made their way across the crystalline landscape, Dex found himself constantly aware of Nixandra's presence beside him. She moved with fluid grace even over the uneven terrain, and despite her claims of emotional suppression, he caught her stealing glances at the incredible beauty surrounding them. "It's amazing, isn't it?" he said as they paused to rest near a cluster of smaller crystals. "All this beauty just waiting for someone to discover it." Sandra's violet eyes swept across the alien vista. The formations demonstrate remarkable symmetry and mathematical precision. There is certainly aesthetic appeal in their structure. Aesthetic appeal, Dex repeated with a grin. Yesterday you didn't understand why humans found things beautiful. Now you're admitting something has aesthetic appeal. Her silver markings flickered more rapidly. "I am simply acknowledging observable facts about structural harmony." "Right," Dex said, moving closer to her. "And I suppose you're just acknowledging observable facts when you keep looking at me like that too." Alexandra's composure finally cracked slightly. "I do not understand what you mean. You've been watching me since we landed," Dex said softly, his voice dropping to an intimate tone. "The same way I've been watching you. There's something happening between us, isn't there?" "Human emotional responses are triggering unfamiliar neural pathways," Nixandra admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "This should not be possible. Zephyrian mental conditioning prevents such reactions." Dex reached out and gently touched her face, his fingers tracing the silver markings along her cheek. "Maybe your conditioning isn't as complete as you thought. Maybe part of you wants to feel what humans feel." The contact sent visible ripples through her markings, and she drew in a sharp breath. "The sensation is overwhelming. How do humans function with such intense stimuli?" "We don't just function," Dex murmured, stepping closer until they were almost touching. "We thrive on it. It makes us feel alive." Before she could respond, the crystals around them suddenly flared with brilliant light, and the ground began to tremble. From the ruins ahead came a sound like singing, though in no voice either species had ever heard. "We need to move," Dex said, taking her hand. "Something's happening." They ran toward the ruins as the crystal formations began resonating with increasing intensity. The ancient city walls were covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched, and the strange singing grew louder and more complex. Inside the ruins, they found shelter in what appeared to be a ceremonial chamber. The walls were lined with more crystals, smaller than those outside but pulsing in synchronized patterns. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a crystal formation unlike any they had seen. The energy emanations from that central crystal are extraordinary, Nixandra breathed, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. "It appears to be some form of amplification device." As she approached the crystal, it began to glow more brightly, and suddenly the chamber filled with images, holographic projections showing the history of the planet's previous inhabitants. They watched in fascination as an entire civilization played out before them, from their rise to their mysterious disappearance. They were trying to transcend physical existence, Nixandra whispered, interpreting the symbolic representations, to become pure energy and consciousness. And they succeeded, Dex realized, watching the final images of the aliens transforming into light. They're still here in the crystals. That's what the singing is. They're trying to communicate. The revelation struck them both simultaneously. They were not just archaeologists exploring ruins, but witnesses to the greatest transformation. In the history of consciousness itself, the energy surrounding them intensified, and Dex felt something changing within himself, as if the very atoms of his being were responding to the alien presence. Nixandra gasped as the sensations overwhelmed her carefully constructed mental barriers. For the first time in her life, she felt raw, unfiltered emotion coursing through her consciousness. Fear, wonder, excitement, and something else, something warm and powerful, that centered entirely on the human man standing beside her. "Dex," she whispered, turning to face him with eyes wide with new understanding. "I feel everything. The beauty, the wonder, the connection. Is this what humans experience? Constantly?" "Not constantly," Dex replied, moving toward her as if drawn by an irresistible force, "but when it matters most. When we're with someone who makes us feel complete." The energy field around them pulsed with their shared emotions, and suddenly, they were in each other's arms. Nixandra's usual reserve crumbled entirely as she experienced the full force of human passion for the first time. Dex's lips found hers in a kiss that seemed to channel all the energy of the crystal formations around them. Her skin was incredibly soft, despite its alien appearance, and she tasted like starlight and possibility. The silver markings along her face and neck glowed brighter as their passion intensified, creating patterns of light that danced across the chamber walls. "This is impossible," she breathed against his lips. "Zephyrians are not capable of such intense physical responses." "Maybe you're not as Zephyrian as you thought," Dex murmured, his hands exploring the curves of her body through the flowing fabric of her robes. "Maybe you're something new, something better." The ancient crystals around them pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeats as they sank to the soft moss that carpeted the chamber floor. Nixandra's robe seemed to dissolve under Dex's touch, revealing skin that shimmered with inner light. Every caress sent waves of energy through both their bodies, amplified by the alien technology that surrounded them. "I understand now," Nixandra gasped as Dex's lips traced the glowing patterns along her throat. "This is why humans are so powerful. You do not suppress your passions. You transform them into strength." "And now you understand too," Dex whispered, his voice rough with desire. "You're not cold or logical. You're fire waiting to be unleashed." Their lovemaking was unlike anything either had experienced before. The alien energy field seemed to enhance every sensation, every touch, every whispered word of passion. Nixandra discovered pleasures she had never imagined possible, while Dex found himself connected to her on a level that transcended physical attraction. As they moved together in ancient rhythm, the crystals around them sang with harmonies that seemed to celebrate their union. The consciousness of the long-vanished aliens touched their minds, offering approval and blessing for this joining of two species through the power of love. Later, as they lay entwined in the soft glow of the crystal chamber, Nixandra traced patterns on Dex's chest with her fingertips. Her silver markings had settled into slow, peaceful pulses, and her eyes held a warmth that had never been there before. "My people will not understand this transformation," she said quietly. "They will consider it contamination of Zephyrian purity." "Then maybe it's time for your people to learn something new," Dex replied, pulling her closer. "Just like you did." "The political implications are staggering," Nixandra continued, though she made no move to pull away from his embrace. "Interspecies relationships violate numerous treaties and protocols. Sometimes the best things in life violate protocols," Dex said, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "Besides, I think we're about to give both our species something much more important than politics to think about." The crystals around them pulsed with agreement, and in that moment, both Dex and Nixandra knew that their discovery would change everything. They had found not just evidence of another civilization, but proof that consciousness itself could evolve beyond the limitations of individual species. As dawn approached on the alien world, they prepared to face whatever consequences awaited them. But wrapped in each other's arms, surrounded by the singing crystals and the blessing of an ancient consciousness, they felt ready for anything the universe might throw at them. The rescue ships arrived at dawn, their sleek forms cutting through the crystal-clear atmosphere of Kepler 440b. Dex and Nixandra emerged from the ancient chamber hand in hand, their transformation visible to anyone who cared to look. Nixandra's silver markings now held permanent swirls of golden light, a change that would mark her forever as different from her people. Dex carried himself with new confidence, his connection to the alien consciousness having enhanced his natural leadership abilities. Lieutenant Cassie Morgan was the first to reach them, her relief evident as she ran across the crystalline landscape. "Thank God you're both alive. We lost contact. We feared the worst." "We're more than alive," Dex replied, his arms still wrapped around Nixandra's waist. "We've made the discovery of a lifetime." Cassie's expression grew troubled as she noticed their intimate positioning and the obvious changes in both of them. "Dex, we need to talk. Privately." General Theron Velmer materialized from the Zephyrian transport, his imposing 7-foot frame radiating disapproval, his cold gray eyes fixed immediately on Nixandra's altered markings, and his face contorted with something approaching disgust. "Liaison Veltor," he said, his voice cutting through the morning air like ice. "Your appearance has been compromised. Report immediately for decontamination and mental reconditioning." Nixandra straightened, though she kept her hand firmly clasped in Dex's. "General Velmer, I have undergone no contamination. I have experienced evolution." "Evolution?" The general's laugh was harsh and bitter. "You have been infected by human emotional instability. Look at yourself. Your markings betray the corruption of your pure Zephyrian nature." "My nature has been enhanced, not corrupted," Nixandra replied, her voice gaining strength. "I have discovered capabilities that our people have suppressed for millennia." Dex stepped forward, placing himself partially between Nixandra and the imposing Zephyrian general. "With respect, General, you're looking at this all wrong. What we've discovered here changes everything for both our species." "Silence, human," Velmer snapped. "You have violated numerous interspecies protocols and contaminated a valuable Zephyrian asset. The consequences will be severe." "Asset?" Dex's voice dropped dangerously low. "She's not your asset. She's a brilliant, beautiful woman who deserves to make her own choices." The tension crackled between the three groups as more personnel arrived from both ships. Word of the situation spread quickly, and soon representatives from both human and Zephyrian commands were present, their faces grave with the political implications. Admiral Richardson, Dex's superior, pulled him aside while the Zephyrians formed a tight circle around Nixandra. "Son, I need you to explain exactly what happened down here. The Zephyrians are claiming you violated their citizens' mental integrity." "What happened is that we discovered an ancient civilization that transcended physical existence," Dex said firmly. "And in the process, we learned that the barriers between our species are artificial constructs that limit our potential." "That's all very philosophical," the Admiral replied, "but politically this is a disaster. The Zephyrians are threatening to withdraw from all joint operations unless Liaison Velthar is returned to them for immediate reconditioning." "Reconditioning?" Dex's blood ran cold. "You mean they want to erase what she's become? Erase her memories?" "Of what we shared. It's their right as her governing species," Richardson said reluctantly. "Unless she formally requests asylum with humanity, which would create an even bigger political crisis." Across the landing site, Nixandra was facing similar pressure from her own people. General Velmer had ordered her restrained, though she showed no signs of resistance. "Your behavior demonstrates severe mental instability," Velmer was saying. "The human has clearly used some form of psychological manipulation to compromise your judgment." "My judgment has never been clearer," Nixandra replied calmly. "I have experienced what our people have denied themselves for centuries, the full spectrum of consciousness and emotion." "Emotion is weakness," Velmer stated flatly. "Clouds logic and leads to poor decisions. Your current attachment to the human proves this point perfectly. My attachment to Dex has made me stronger, not weaker," Nixandra said, golden swirled markings pulsing with determination. "Through him I have learned that love is not weakness, but the greatest source of power in the universe." "It's nonsense," Velmer replied. "You will submit to reconditioning immediately or face exile from Zephyrian society permanently." Nixandra looked across the crystalline landscape to where Dex stood arguing with his own superiors. Their eyes met across the distance, and she felt the same surge of connection that had transformed her in the ancient chamber. In that moment, she made her choice. "Then I choose exile," she announced, her voice carrying clearly across the landing. Sight, the proclamation stunned both groups into silence. General Velmer's face went white with shock, while Admiral Richardson looked like he had developed a sudden headache. Dex broke away from his group and strode across to Nixandra, taking her hands in his. "Are you sure? Once you make this choice, there's no going back. There was no going back the moment you showed me what it means to truly live," she replied, her violet eyes shining with love and determination. "I would rather face exile with you than spend eternity as a hollow shell of what I could be." General Velmer recovered his composure and stepped forward menacingly. "This decision affects more than just your personal desires, Velthor. You carry state secrets, technological knowledge, and cultural information that cannot be allowed to fall into human hands. Then perhaps it's time for our peoples to share that knowledge openly," Nixandra replied. "The consciousness in the crystals showed us visions of what our species could become together." "Visions?" Admiral Richardson stepped forward, his interest clearly piqued. "What kind of visions?" Dex and Nixandra exchanged glances, and together they began to describe their experience in the crystal chamber. They spoke of the ancient civilization that had transcended physical form, of the technology that could enhance consciousness rather than suppress it, of the potential for human and Zephyrian minds to achieve something greater than either could accomplish alone. As they spoke, the crystal formations around them began to resonate, responding to their shared memories and emotions. The alien consciousness that dwelt within reached out, touching the minds of everyone present and sharing fragments of its vast knowledge. "Admiral." Richardson staggered as images flooded his mind, visions of human and Zephyrian colonies working together, of technologies that could heal worlds, of a future where the barriers between species dissolved in the face of shared purpose and understanding. General Velmer fought against the mental contact, but even his rigid conditioning could not entirely block the alien influence. He saw glimpses of what Zephyrian society could become if they allowed themselves to feel, to love, to experience the full range of consciousness. "Impossible," he whispered, his gray eyes wide with shock. "These visions cannot be accurate." "They're not just accurate," Dex said, still holding Nixandra close. "They're inevitable. The question is whether our peoples will embrace this future together or fight against evolution itself." The crystalline landscape around them pulsed with energy as more personnel from both ships experienced the alien consciousness. Some fought against it, clinging to old prejudices and fears. Others opened themselves to the possibilities, their minds expanding to encompass new ways of thinking and being. "Lieutenant." Cassie Morgan approached Dex with tears streaming down her face. "I can see it all," she whispered. "The potential for our species, the beauty of what we could become together. How did we ever think that dividing ourselves made us stronger?" Similar reactions spread through both groups as the alien consciousness shared its gift of expanded awareness. Those who accepted the experience found themselves changed, their capacity for understanding and connection enhanced beyond anything they had thought possible. General Velmer stood isolated, his face a mask of conflict as he struggled between his conditioning and the undeniable truth of what he was experiencing. Finally, his rigid posture cracked, and he sank to his knees among the glowing crystals. "What have we done to ourselves?" he whispered. "What have we denied our people in the name of purity and logic?" Nixandra approached her former superior. With compassion, kneeling beside him and placing a gentle hand on his shoulder, "You have protected our people as best you knew how. But now we know a better way." "The Council will never accept this," Velmer said, his voice broken. "They will see it as contamination, as the destruction of everything Zephyrian." "Then we'll show them that it's not destruction but creation," Dex said, joining them. "We'll prove that love and emotion make us stronger, not weaker." Over the following hours, as both crews worked to document their discoveries and plan their return to the space station. They were not just returning with scientific data, but with proof that The fundamental assumptions of both species about consciousness, emotion, and interspecies relations were flawed. The political ramifications would be enormous. Conservative factions on both sides would resist the changes, fearing the loss of their traditional power structures. But the progressive elements, inspired by what they had witnessed, would push for rapid integration and cooperation. As the ships prepared for departure, Dex and Nixandra stood together at the edge of the crystal formation that had changed their lives forever. The alien consciousness whispered through their joined minds, offering guidance and blessing for the challenges ahead. "Are you ready for this?" Dex asked, pulling her close. "Once we return to the station, everything changes. I've been ready. Since the moment you showed me what it means to feel," Nixandra replied, her golden-swirled markings pulsing with love and determination. "Whatever comes, we face it together." "Together," Dex agreed, sealing their promise with a kiss that seemed to make the very crystals sing with joy. 6 months later, Research Station Harmony had been transformed into something unprecedented, the first truly integrated human Saphrian facility, where members of both species worked, lived, and loved side by side. The conservative elements of both governments had initially resisted, but the undeniable benefits of cooperation had gradually won over even the most stubborn opponents. Dex and Nixandra's wedding ceremony was held in the station's observation deck, with the crystal formations of Kepler 4-4 to be visible through the vast transparent walls. Representatives from both species attended, including a much-changed General Velmer, who had become one of the strongest advocates for integration, as they exchanged vows, promising to love and support each other across any obstacle their different species might present. The alien consciousness from the planet below seemed to bless their union. Crystals pulsed with warm light, and everyone present felt a moment of perfect harmony between human emotion and Zephyrian logic. "You realize this is just the beginning," Nixandra whispered to her new husband as they danced their first dance as a married couple. "The best beginnings always are," Dex replied, spinning her gracefully as the mixed crowd of humans and Zephyrians cheered their approval. Their love had not just conquered the barriers between two individuals, but had opened the door for their entire species to discover what they could accomplish together. In the years that followed, their children would be the first of a new generation, beings who combined the best of both species, capable of logical thought and passionate emotion in perfect balance. The fire within had spread from two hearts to encompass two civilizations, proving once and for all that love truly was the most powerful force in the universe.